what is our number one resource? It's our time. And this is something that sales managers don't appreciate. Sales reps certainly appreciate. To make use of our time is our critical skill. How to judge things, how to prioritize things, how to make sure we're not wasting our time. Now, this is something that we have to understand as reps. Other people don't care about you wasting your time. I've never met a manager who says, I don't want you wasting your time. They love to waste your time because they don't see it. They don't feel it. They're home in their nice warm bed while you're up working your butt off. As sales reps, we hear this argument all the time, harder, smarter. Well, harder ends at 24 hours. There's no 25th hour. So the only choice you have is smarter. Harder falls apart. Harder gets you sick. Harder hits the wall. Harder degrades your skills. Yes, you have to work hard. You have to show up. You have to have good habits and routines. But the person who is selling more like a detective than just a beat cop. A beat cop walks around, makes sure nobody's stealing stuff or breaking stuff or fighting. A detective goes to a crime, looks at it, finds out who the victim is, who's closest to the victim, who has the most motive, the most win out of committing that crime, and then starts talking from the closest people out. That's smart. Otherwise, a detective would never find anybody. They look for clues. They trace clues. They look for motive, opportunity, and means. They look for alibis. This is what we have to do in sales. Who is most likely to be interested in our product? Now, in Start the Conversation, Get the Meaning, I help you define these things, prioritize these things, develop that judgment skill of what to work on. In the last 3 months, I've interviewed probably, 20 A-level salespeople, some making over 7 figures a year. And none of them are grinders. They work hard. They put a solid 50, 60 hours in, but they're not the 80 hours, 100 hours, 10x idiots who think that just running around will do it. That sales model works in B2C where everyone is similarly likely to buy. You're going door to door, everybody in that neighborhood has a similar income to afford that house. They're probably of the same stage in life. They probably have the same needs. But in B2B sales, it's all about focus and prioritization. And how do you determine who is most likely to buy and in what time frame and what do they care about? This is a skill that the smartest people develop. And the problem is managers are pushing the other direction. They're looking for 50 calls. Well, yes, you have to get up every day. So if you get up at 5 in the morning versus 6, you got an extra hour. Depends when you go to bed. But it's what you do with that time. The more complex your sale is, complexity meaning high dollar amount, number of people involved, complexity in economics and technology, the more you have to focus on a few, the precious few, the people who are going to buy. And this skill you have to develop. And people say, well, how do I do that? Well, what I always did was the Sophie's choice. Go down your list and say, put them in the order that are most likely going to close in chronological order. That develops your skill. And then at the end of the day, week, month, and year, look at how well you did. How well did you judge these deals? And who's doing a better job of it? Look around your company. Look around your industry. Who's killing it? Who's getting the results that you want? And it's always the smarter person. Sorry. Yes, I work really hard, but at least one day a week I have like a strategy session where I look at my map, what I'm spending my time on, what is really most important. And I got to tell you, I spent a good part, and I have to fight myself and have a mantra about what really is most important strategically for me, because I work for myself. It's very different than working for somebody else. So listen to this episode, and if you want to develop this skill and this ability, and even find those latent people, find the people that you want to connect with that may not even have active pain. Go check out B2B Revenue, start the conversation, get the meeting. Just remember, prices are going up January 1st, so if you want to get in, sign up now. If you don't, that's okay. There's plenty of room for grinders out there. They're way back on the leaderboard. Also, make sure you're checking out Co-Video. Video has been a game changer for me this year. So different. I mean, video has blown up. I 3x'd my followership on LinkedIn with video, 3x the podcast listeners with video. It's a way of connecting. Even now I'm finding that LinkedIn videos are getting more than YouTube videos. I put stuff up on YouTube. YouTube's a different crowd. I get that. So if you want to see the interviews on YouTube, check them out on Maverick Method on YouTube. But video email with Co-Video is a nice way of connecting with somebody because you have to get that human rapport going. You have to get conversations started with them, not about your product, about what they care about. Not just sports and the kids and soccer, but what's their career like? What's their role like? How do you make their job better? If you listen to a couple of the past interviews, that's what differentiates people because they don't want to talk about your product. They want to talk about them and what they care about, their problems, their situations. How do they make that better? And video's that way to connect that you are somebody who is genuine, who's not just a pushy rep. So check it out at covideo.com. Here we go. I'll update everybody on the courses, on the one-on-ones, and the office hours after the interview. Here we go. Hey, Mark, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. So my name's Mark Colgan. I'm Chief Revenue Officer over at TaskDrive. I'm originally from the UK, but I live and work remotely with my girlfriend. I'm currently in Athens. I guess I have over 11 years experience in sales and marketing. I originally started my career in recruitment as an account manager and then into more of a BDE role where I well and truly cut my teeth as opposed to carrying rep, as well as having to recruit individuals as well on a day-to-day basis. I then taught myself marketing and moved into a marketing role where I've worked with B2B SaaS companies for the last 7 years, until I took an early retirement, went traveling for 12 months.
Early retirement.
Yeah, but I didn't have enough money, so I had to go back to work. But I caught the remote bug, and I knew I couldn't go back to a 9 to 5 doing the commute. So I worked as a consultant mainly around sales and marketing automation and the MarTech stack with mainly B2B SaaS companies. And I did that for 2 years until more recently, 5 months ago, I joined TaskDrive. And within this role, I get to wear many hats, which kind of combine all of my experience of sales, marketing, and then just being obsessed with the customer and customer success as one of our core values.
And so what's your day-to-day work look like?
Yeah, it does vary. A lot of it at the moment is around people and training. So doing a lot of work in not just upskilling, just making sure that things are understood and we're comfortable working through our various processes. I spend a fair amount of my time on sales calls and speaking to prospects, as well as managing the marketing side of things as well. I have a great team that I work with, but I still, I kind of am pulled in quite a few different directions.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier about cold email really getting worse and worse, or just too much of it, I guess.
I think both. There's too much. There's more volume, and the quality is going down. So.
And I think what happens is leaders say, "Oh, it's not working as much. I guess we've got to do more of it."
Yeah, absolutely. And I speak to. I'm in a fortunate position where I speak to a lot of companies each week that are trying new things with their outreach, and a lot of the times they'll say, "Mark, cold email doesn't work. We tried it 2 years ago and we didn't get great results." And the first thing I think of is there's 30 reasons why it couldn't have worked. Was it the copy? Was it deliverability? Was it the targeting? Did you do your research? There's hundreds of factors. So it's very, very interesting. I believe it still can work. It still does work. We see that the customers that we support with their outbound are doing great with their cadences, if the messaging is right.
And I think the key thing is that people are trying to do the numbers game versus the quality game.
Absolutely.
And
And
I hear a lot about personalization and relevance, but it's still a pitch. I think people are forgetting it's people on the other end.
100%. And I saw some stats recently that if you just send out a template email, you'll get a 1.5% reply rate. And so people think, well, if I'm only getting 1.5%, I need to send out 50,000 emails a month, rather than trying to focus on the personalization, making the content more relevant, sending it to the people at the right time based on lead sourcing, which I think we may cover today.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that people can do to improve the outbound, and try different channels as well, because the multi-channel approach is certainly working too.
Right. And I think you have to meet people where they are, meaning in their level of awareness of the problem that you solve, the interest level that they have. And I think you talk a lot about trigger type events and timing.
Sure.
Because a lot of
Absolutely.
what people sell is time based. They care at a certain period for a certain reason.
Yeah. And then,
well, let's go through your post, because I liked it a lot.
Good. Okay. Where would you like to start?
What do you think is the most effective, or where would you recommend people starting?
Yeah, so the post, just for context for those who may not have seen the post yet, is I released a video which covered a number of lead sourcing playbooks. So looking at how we find the right people at the right time, and I think the best place to start is working out who those people are that you should be finding for your lead sourcing before you do anything. So again, with a lot of the people I speak to, I really ask them to define their ideal customer profile, so the type of companies they're trying to target, as well as the buyer persona, so the people within those companies. And with the buyer personas, what I do try and recommend people do is that they have a look at job descriptions of these personas, so they can start to understand the challenges that they have, or the challenges that they likely face, and the responsibilities that they will be charged with in that role.
And what do you see people doing wrong there? Because often I see I want to talk to the CEO. Well, the CEO doesn't have that problem. Yes, they might be involved, and they might be the economic approver of that, but they're not the person who feels the pain.
Absolutely. And the biggest problem I see is that marketing and sales are often guilty of not speaking enough to their customers or to their prospects, and really listening to the voice of the customer. You don't, for companies that do outbound email, they don't do cold emails. That's not the service. They set appointments because that's what people want. It's the result. So that's one of the biggest things that I see. Another thing is, again, being with my marketing hat on, is you work on a buyer persona, you tick that list, you've done your personas, and it gets put on a shelf and collects dust. And really, you need to be constantly revising your customer personas.
And that's it. Even going back to your 1.5%, why not look at that 1.5% that was interested and find people like them? Why were they interested?
Yeah.
Talk to your existing clients and say, how did they come about this? What triggered them to be interested?
Absolutely. And you could almost ask the same question of the 98.5% that didn't reply. You ask, why didn't they reply? Do a post-mortem of the campaigns. I think because we are trying to hit the numbers, we don't have time to reflect, or we often don't feel that we have time to reflect and look back to think, okay, why didn't they reply, or why didn't they move forward to the next step?
Right. And I think this year, because I interview hundreds of people every year, that the things that are working are not the mass things anymore that it was 5 years ago. It's the micro things, hyper focused. Little local events, meetups, engaging the audience, engaging the market in conversations versus the spamming and the cold calling, because it's overdone. It's just burnt.
And I think as well, the companies I see doing the best are coming from a mindset of abundance and offering value. And they're freely giving out that value without expecting anything in return, because at the end of the day, a salesperson is a supplier, but those that give the value freely and are there and they show up in the right places, they become portrayed as a trusted advisor, and quite rightly so if they're producing great content and offering the value. And when it comes to selling, people will go to the trusted advisor. So you then tend to see that in the long run, you have a lot more inbound coming back to you because you help somebody along the way.
Yeah, and I think a value proposition is not a give.
No.
It's a commercial, right?
Yeah.
And what do we do when we hear commercials? We switch the channel, we turn the volume down, we go get something to eat.
Yeah.
And I think, well, content marketing usually done well is a give.
Mm-hmm.
You're educating, you're informing, you're teaching. But, salespeople forget that when they're either calling or emailing somebody, that they're starting that you must be in market or you should be in market.
I have a story that I always go back to from my days in recruitment. So I used to recruit qualified accountants into a number of different roles across the UK, and often it went on a permanent desk. So you don't have as many roles, but you have larger deal sizes. If you were to try and place a role, but one of your competitors got their candidate in there, you lost that job. You couldn't place your candidates there.
Yeah.
Well, I always made a point of trying to find out who the person they decided to hire was, because there's a potential backfill opportunity because they're going to be leaving somewhere.
Right.
And then also find out what day they were starting, because there is a 10%, maybe it's not 10%, but there is a percentage chance that they don't turn up, or they have they're offered two roles and they decide to go with the other one. Yeah. So I'd always make sure I'd followed up before they were supposed to start, and also on the day of them starting. Because I had it to me, even with the best lip service from candidates, you believe that they're going to start, and on a few occasions they ghosted me. They just never turned up for that first day. But then you're there in a position where that hiring manager now doesn't have somebody. They've invested all of their time and they've paid money on bringing in the laptop and having all the HR organize everything, and they have an immediate need. So then I sold in a temporary person to relieve the pain that they had. And I've always carried that kind of analogy and message to anything I've done, whether it be marketing or sales. It's finding out when people have the need. And I think that's where these lead sourcing playbooks really came out of.
And that's much more detective work than it is grinding work.
Yes.
Right. Because you thought through not one level, but two levels. Mm-hmm. And then it's a chain reaction, because every time somebody leaves, somebody has to be replaced.
Yep.
And the likelihood that person works out is 50, 30, well, I don't know, who knows, but it's not 100, right?
No.
And, both the employer and the employee may be uncomfortable for probably 9 months, right? And if it doesn't work out, both people are going to be looking for something.
Yeah. And I think, we've probably, I've definitely been here. You may have experienced this, where I've been missold things in the past. I've committed to something which I thought I was going to benefit from, and once I've purchased it, it wasn't what I expected. So now I'm an unhappy customer, but I'm stuck for the next 9 months or however long that is. But boy, I can't wait to renew and leave. Yeah. So it's the salespeople and the companies that play the long game with nurturing their prospects that they lost, because ultimately they'll become a customer again. You don't know what the situation is. They might leave and join a new company. And who are they going to go to? It's the trusted advisor, the person that's helped them. Right. And just to give another example here. So in the sales process for me, if people don't decide to work with TaskDrive, I don't think, well, boo you, I'm not going to work with you ever again. I think if they're not going with me and they haven't found another solution, they still have the same problem that they came to me with. So I'm now in a position to offer them maybe not the full solution which they could get with TaskDrive, because they're not working with TaskDrive, but maybe a spreadsheet or maybe something to help alleviate the pain that they're going through. Because again, it is a long game, and in the future, I believe they will come back if they have that need again.
That's it. And what I always used to do, because I sold mostly IT technology, and I would kind of try and dissect, what do they buy right before they buy or start looking for what I do? Yeah. And there was this product. So, absolutely. So I would go to those salespeople and I go, do you guys have a users group meeting or anything? You need a speaker? I'd be happy to, show people, what this problem is. And they go, yeah, we're always looking for speakers. So I'd fly out or drive out, and I'd give a talk about the issues, the security issues, once you go live with this stuff.
Yeah.
And it worked. I got most of my business through that.
Absolutely. But that's a smart way of doing it. It's not just going, well, this person has the same job title as my persona.
Right. Call
so
10,000 developers.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're only going to, and you think about how many deals you really have to do. Like I had to do like 10 deals in a year to crush my number. You know, if you had to do it smart.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the other things you see people, how can you tell when people are in market? I mean, there's so much technology out there today.
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology out there, and I think again going back to I believe it's Chet Holmes, the ultimate sales machine, where he mentions only 3% of your market are buying now. Maybe 7% might be open to it, but you know the rest of the 90% are just not even thinking about it. So really, what I try and think of is where can I, similar to your example, where can I find people who might be thinking, who would be more open to thinking, that meet my ideal customer profile and are the right buyer personas that we've identified. And when I put together these lead sourcing playbooks, I think it probably makes sense to go through a few of them, and then you know anybody can, they're more than welcome to check out the link to the rest of the videos. But for me, one of the best ones is when someone's starting a new role. It's a great opportunity to start a conversation with them. They've got a new role. They're more than likely of moving up. So they have more responsibility, which carries more pressure and more of a need to make a really good impression and do well. So they're looking for solutions or services that can help them do that. So that's probably one of my favorite ones to look at.
And then you also can empathize with what they're going through.
Absolutely.
Because, we all have had new jobs. In that first 3 months, it's part honeymoon, part uncomfortableness, part how do I prove myself? You know, how do I stir it up a little bit, but not too much?
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, whilst your service or product may solve one of those challenges for them, it's not going to solve them all of their issues. So I often speak to companies and they say, well, Mark, we don't have enough content for our outbound campaigns and we can't write content quick enough. And I say, well, we'll just use someone else's. Use a non-competing party that's in the same industry as you. For example, I've been sending an article from Drift, which talks about SDR onboarding and how to get them onboarded quicker. Because I know that SDR managers who I would tend to be, they would be one of my prospects, they have those challenges. I haven't sat there and written the content yet. We are, it's in our content editor calendar to produce, but you know, I'm working quicker than my content team can. So, you know, I found some content that I know is valuable and is relevant for them at the moment. This is when they're hiring, sorry. So this is another playbook when people are currently hiring, and then sharing and offering value. Look, that's not even my content, but I've read it and I think it's of value. So here, I'm sharing it with you.
Yeah. And how about what worked for me when I went out on my own was I would put up a annual calendar, and I'd take my persona, which was CROs like yourself, and I know they're on a quarterly basis, and I go, how did I feel each month of each of those quarters? What did I care about? And what did I not care about? And what would I be scared about? And all of a sudden you put your prospecting system aligned with what they're feeling at the time. And you talk to that versus just pitching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But and I think that comes down to you understanding who your audience is and understanding their pain points. And you know, the only way you can truly do that is speak to them. At the moment with at TaskDrive, I've got around 60 researchers who don't speak to our customers, and you know they never really will need to because of the processes that we have. So what I'm doing is I'm interviewing not even customers, I'm interviewing VP of sales, other CROs, other heads of marketing, and just asking them, what do you like about your job? What do you find challenging? What would you wish you could change? What do you think the future is going to be in your role? And these are just 10 to 15 minute videos so that my researchers can understand who our customer is. But but like I said, they're not speaking to the customer at the same time, but at least they're understanding what our customers are going through. And
Right.
it's invaluable for the whole company to be aligned to, okay, I get why we're doing this research. I get why we're doing this data enrichment. It actually has an impact to this person I can see on the screen in front of me.
Yeah. Well, what are some others?
So some others that I really like. This was a great one. I helped a friend of mine out. So they are a cold email copywriter, and he was struggling to find good leads or leads at the right time. Again, because it's all about timing. So we run two playbooks for him. The first one was the in-market playbook, and this one really means look at places. So are you familiar with Product Hunt? The
Yeah,
website
sure.
Product Hunt, yeah. So on Product Hunt, Reply.io, Woodpecker, Mailshake, Lemlist, these cold email platforms have all launched on there. When they launch, they get upvotes, and each of those have upvotes. Now, I make the hypotheses that people that upvoted a cold email platform are likely to use it, and if they're likely to use it, they must need email copy for their campaigns.
Yeah.
So we put all of this data into, we got the data and put it all in one spreadsheet, obviously normalized that data and maybe took out a few, many rows that weren't relevant. And then we were left with around 1,000 people that that my friend, who was the copywriter, could go after and start a conversation with. And that's all he did. He sent some templates. He sent some or maybe not templates, but more, not templates they could have used, but more, here's the structure of the emails that are working best for my clients. And that just resulted in so many new sales. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but he's busy now and he hasn't come back to me and asked for more help. So he's plenty busy with his own work. But again, it's where the people are putting their hand up and expressing the fact that they may need the service.
That's it, because there are a lot of sites like that, review sites, and even groups on LinkedIn, even content and thought leaders, the people who like those posts.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same. So with the lead sourcing video that I recorded, I said, if anybody's interested, to put video, please, and I'll make sure that we send you a video. 350 people commented asking for the video. Yeah. That's 350 people that are interested in finding new leads. So that's 350 people who may be interested in the services that I offer, or you just find people who are putting their hand up, and it's so easy to now because there's so many avenues, as you say, review sites being one, groups being another, posts and influencers on LinkedIn especially. And what's great about influencers on LinkedIn, they're micro influencers. They're very niche. They're well known for one or two things, but if those one or two things are your market, then that's all you need. It's like you say, it's not the 10,000 emails.
Plus, you have that item to talk about and to build off of versus just talking about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
indeed.
Because they have, if they use that product, they have this problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Well, why do you think that sales management is still focused on the numbers thing versus what we're talking about is quality, smarter, more focused, not as many numbers, but much more effective.
I think we're still focused on the numbers because salespeople still have quotas to hit on a monthly, quarterly basis. And I think that's why we think, well, if we're not getting enough, if we don't have enough opportunities in our pipeline, then we just need more at the top, rather than focusing on what are those middle funnel deals that are stalling? What information do I need to help move those along? What insights can I gain? What triggers can I use to encourage the conversation? One of the simplest things is don't have a single threaded opportunity. Make sure you know multiple decision makers and people within the opportunity. But yeah, personally, I think we all agree that the buyer's journey has changed, but a salesperson's targets haven't, or a salesperson's methodologies haven't necessarily.
Right, because they look at the thing as a funnel, and that everybody in here, you're looking for the needle in the haystack instead of let's go find the little haystacks where the people are most likely to have the problem that we solve.
Yeah. And I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but the likely website visit to conversion is around 2%. I think I saw that thrown out recently. And that's because we've got every website that you'll have a look at, a modern website, best practice, has a website, has a value proposition, book a demo. I don't want to book a demo. I'm at the top of the funnel. I'm just trying to work out, is this
I
a
want
problem?
the ebook.
I want the ebook, and I don't want to put my name on a form because I know you're going to nurture me.
Hound
So I
me.
want you to give me that content.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so when people visit a website and when people visit your websites, they're at different stages in the buyer's journey. However, just like our mentality for sales is up for the numbers, we're the same with our marketing site. And one of for some of our customers, I recommend putting 2 calls to actions. And I know CRO, conversion rate optimization people say, no, that's suicidal. You can't do that. But if somebody's not going to click on book a demo because they're not ready, then give them the opportunity to learn more, or give them the opportunity to sign up for updates, because that's what they need right now. Not everybody's there to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because even on my website, probably about 20% people sign up for the ebook. And of that, a lot of people don't do the two-phase, right? And so I immediately, within a week, delete them, because if they're not going to go for the ebook, they're not going to go for anything else.
Yeah.
And I think the focus and the shift needs to be towards this detective work and this quality work, and focus on what is the outcome you want. You want conversations started with qualified people who you can build into doing deals with.
Absolutely.
Not filling up the CRM with a bunch of people who will never buy.
Yeah, and I've never, so when I was a quota carrying recruitment consultant, there was always, I had to report on the numbers of how many open job opportunities I was working on, but the MD only really ever cared about what my close one was. And I to this day still never celebrate my pipeline. I only celebrate the close one. And I see so many people, and I've worked with so many companies as a consultant looking at the sales process, and they tell me they've got 600,000 in pipeline. And the majority of those close dates are in the past.
Yeah, and it's really just a false sense of comfort. And if you really think about it, you have to maintain that pipeline. You have to do something with it, which takes up time. And all the time you spend on a deal that won't close is time you can't spend on a deal that can close.
Absolutely. There's 2 more that I care to share. And well, there's a few more, but I'll maybe 2, and we'll see if we have time. So one of my favorite ones is the reverse IP lookup. So you may be familiar, and listeners may be familiar with companies like Albatross, Leadfeeder, Leadworks, Lead Forensics. They basically reverse look up the IP address of the visitors who are on your website. Now that data is great if you've got the time to go through it and work out which individuals from the companies are on your website. So on my personal website, I had somebody from Sony. Sony has 20,000 people that I could tell on LinkedIn. I've got no chance of finding out who that individual was, because they didn't express an interest or fill out a form or convert. So, but it definitely does have value when you are running out account-based marketing campaigns to people at Sony, and then somebody comes on, then you can define that actually it could have been somebody who is within your target accounts or the target personas. One of the things that we do at TaskDrive is we sit between the reverse IP data and the customer and our customers' outreach process. So we do all of that research to work out, okay, so you're trying to target the senior leadership, senior marketers or sales developers or HR directors, whatever it is. One of our clients, we're looking for reward managers. So that's great, because if Experian comes and looks at the website, there's not a huge reward team. I know I used to sit next to them. So the reward team is a team that we could actually narrow down quite well. So that's a really great place to start conversations with people who may or may not have been on your website. And by simply saying in your outreach, somebody from Experian has been on our website. I looked at your profile and I thought it may have been you. Was there anything I could do to help? And because you're coming across, again, you're not trying to sell anything. You're just trying to get an answer.
Talk.
And you'll be surprised, especially when you look at the markets where they're not so saturated with cold email, and they're an email like this is actually quite a nice surprise from the normal inbox. They'll often say, oh, no, it wasn't me, but it could have been John. It could have been John over in marketing, or because I know he mentioned it. So it works really well. If, again, depending on your offer and the segmentation of the audience that you're trying to sell to.
Cool. Okay, one more.
One more. Okay, so in a very similar vein is the intent. So there's a number of different intent data platforms out there. There's Lead Sift, which I'm a big fan of. There's intentdata.io. Again, great platforms that can show people who are in market but may not even be on your website yet. They may be engaging with industry topics or industry news. They may have account signals like new hire or acquisitions, M&A activity. But again, all that data is fantastic, but there's a lot of it. And you need to have that filter, and you need to be comfortable filtering out the noise to just target those people. But where it can be really useful is you can see companies who are engaging with your competitors. And that's a very good time to start the conversation, or just put your hand up to say, hey, we're here too. You may not have seen us yet. So intent data is fantastic. But again, you need to have that filter on it because it can be quite overwhelming.
There's one thing about lifestyle people or digital nomads. They have to figure out a smarter way of doing it. One, because they have to get the results. Otherwise, they can't be digital nomads. The other is, how do you have possibly the time to grind it when you're traveling all the time and adapting to new environments? So that was a great interview. I love those skills. If you want to learn those skills on steroids, join, start the conversation, get the meeting. Because I show you the tools, techniques, and talent of having conversations with your client about what they care about and building it into a business conversation. This is a 7-figure skill. If you can do this, because what you'll see is if you ever brought in a senior sales rep or a CEO and they sit down, they don't talk about the product, at least the good ones. They talk about the other person's situation, their company. And it is a talent. It is a skill. It has to be developed. It's not a knowledge thing. Sales is a skill thing. This is what a lot of B players don't get because they have the knowledge, but they don't have the skill. Don't be a sheep. Be a fox. And a fox figures out how to get what they need. They move around. They're stealth. They figure out what to spend their time on to get the results that they want. And today, managers want sheep. The problem is sheep don't make money. That your comp plan is designed for only 53% of you to make money. Okay, so guess what? You have to be twice as smart as the sheep to make your quota. Now, is this fair? Life is not fair, my man. Nobody told me it wasn't going to be fair. So what do we have to do? We have to become smarter. Now, the beauty of B2B sales is you get a nice base salary, you get benefits, you get some level of security that you don't get with a commission-only job. Trust me, I've got a commission-only job. It can be pretty scary. And if you don't work and get the results, that's right, folks. Bad things happen. So to update everybody who's in the course, make sure you're checking out the 2 bottom chapters. The last one is all the one-on-ones. Now, this is the live coaching sessions, applying the course to exact situations. And I label them appropriately so that you can pick and choose the ones you want and listen to them as often as you want and watch them. Because what you'll see is the course in action. And you'll see the traps that we naturally fall into. What I'm trying to do is take you from year 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 of your career up to year 20 of your career in 1 year to teach you how a complex sale works and how to start conversations and get meetings. You know, only rookies are out there pitching. Senior people know how to start conversations. And you probably have seen this at a trade show, where somebody who's been around can just walk up to another person and start a conversation and have it develop into a business discussion. Then you see the rookie handing out their business card, pitching, and everybody's like, could you go away? I'm trying to eat my my shrimp wrapped in bacon, or scallops wrapped in bacon, and having my cocktail. No, what you want to do is skip the years of trial and error and get to the point where you really know how it works. And that's what the course is made from. The second to last chapter is all the office hours. Now, this is close to 2 years of office hours where you get to hear tons of Q&A and you learn from other people. Geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. B players might learn from their own. C players, they have to actually touch the stove to figure out that it's hot. They can't just see the real glowing light and think that, I'm different. I don't get burned. This is the beauty of the course. So go to b2brevenue.com, check the courses out, schedule a time, sign up before the end of the year to lock in this year's prices. What the course includes is 3 major components. All the content is video-based. You get 100% access to it day one, whether you pay in the 12 monthly payments, not a membership, or you pay all at once with the discount. And you can go through it at your pace. The recommendation I have is go through it fast. Don't bother taking notes the first time so you get the vocabulary. You get the sense of where I'm going with it. Do it with an open mind. Don't do it with judgment at first. Then go through it and start applying it slowly and look through the office hours about the topics. If there isn't an office hour or one-on-one that answers your question, schedule one. You get unlimited one-on-ones, and there's never more than a week wait to get it. You get on a calendar, and a one-on-one is a 30-minute call with me on Zoom, not on the phone, where we share a screen, applying the course to a situation that you're faced with. So you get to talk through your exact case. You don't have to use your name, company's name, product name, or customer's name. It doesn't matter. The situations are all the same. What their name is doesn't matter. What matters is where you are and where you want to go, and it's all about prevention. It's not about, okay, I get a trap, the deal's not going. It's how to prevent these things. And think about spending a year on yourself, on the skills to develop this profession that's independent of your company. Because guess what? 5 years from now, you're not going to be at that company. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But you will be you, and 5 years will pass by whether you have this skill or not. Think if you had this skill 5 years ago. You could retire right now. That's the difference. The difference between making 500 and 200 is just a tiny little number of skills about preventing and focusing your time appropriately. Look back at this past year, and I bet you'll see 30, 40, 50% was wasted on deals that didn't close. How many deals could you have made bigger? How many deals could you have made faster? How many accounts could you get in? Today, it's about one new account, one new meeting a week. Now, how about if you could 5x, 10x that, 20x that, get the conversations, find the people who are most likely to buy and focus on them, put them in chronological order so that you can close them and crush it. You are a salespreneur, whether you admit it, accept it, or not. If you want to be a sheep, you might be able to keep a job in this economy. But if a recession happens to come about, and it's eventual, who knows when it's going to happen, guess what happens? The C and B players get washed away. Their value becomes marginal at best. So go to B2B Revenue and schedule a time. Let's talk it through. Get signed up. Let's get your career on the front burner of life. How about that? Turn off the Netflix and turn on the Burns. Let's get some conversation started and close some deals. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're telling a friend about the podcast. If you see my content on LinkedIn, give me a little thumbs up, would you? Come on, I'm working for you. Put a little comment. Give a little share. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Maverick Method on YouTube. 2 other podcasts, Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers, and the B2B Revenue Leadership Show. We'll see you next time.